In today's video, we're going to be talking about insulin resistance and how you can manage it with your diet. According to the University of Alabama at Birmingham, 4 in 10 adults ages 18 to 44 have insulin resistance. And today we're going to talk about some dietary tweaks that can help you improve insulin resistance and improve the symptoms that come with it. So what exactly is insulin resistance? Insulin resistance is a condition where your body's cells become resistant to the effects of insulin. So you get a lot of symptoms like fatigue, weight gain, and high blood sugar. And over time, this can lead to things like obesity, type 2 diabetes, and even things like heart disease. Insulin is created by our pancreas to help assist our body to take the blood sugar from our bloodstream from the foods that we eat into the cells for use. So you can kind of think of it as a little key to the door of our cells to open it up and let blood sugar in. In essence, this part of insulin's job is to make sure that our blood sugar levels aren't too high in the bloodstream and that our cells are consistently getting fuel so they can produce energy, so we can feel our best and our body can function optimally. So what exactly contributes to insulin resistance? There are a lot of different factors. Like many things, some people are at higher risk for insulin resistance than others because a lot of it is in our genetics. But just because it's in our genetics doesn't necessarily mean that we'll automatically have it in the future. It just means we may be at higher risk if we don't manage our stress levels, we don't get enough activity, and we don't eat a balanced, nutritious diet. When it comes to our diet, the biggest culprits that we've found, at least in the research that we have, is that refined carbohydrates in excessive amounts, in addition to things like saturated fat, can contribute to insulin resistance. This doesn't mean that they are, again, the only factor in the matter, but they can not help, so to speak. Now, there is some good news. Just because you've been diagnosed with insulin resistance, prediabetes, diabetes, PCOS, any of these things, it doesn't mean that it's just a nail in the coffin and that your blood sugar is just going to be chaotic and terrible for the rest of your life. Thankfully, that's not the case. There are a lot of things that you can do to manage your blood sugar levels. And today we're going to talk specifically about how you can help manage insulin resistance with your diet. Number one, you want to start with a solid foundation of a well-rounded, healthy diet. Now, I'm sorry that I had to start with kind of the boring, mundane stuff, but I think it's really important to mention and to have as tip number one, because if you are not setting this general foundation of having a balanced, healthy diet, including carbs, fat, and protein, then you're gonna have a lot of challenges with the other tips and with overall just managing your blood sugar in general. And what I mean by a well-rounded healthy diet to start is making sure you're getting enough calories in your diet. One of the big things that I see in clients is they're actually not eating enough, which not only impacts their metabolic rate and slows it down, so it's even harder to lose weight, but it doesn't help blood sugar levels because oftentimes they're having 1, 2, or even 3 meals a day and binge eating or overeating at those meals because they're so hungry by the time it's dinner time, right? By the time they sit down long enough to have a meal or a snack. You may think that it would be good to eat less when you have insulin resistance because, hey, that's less calories, right? But it actually usually is counterproductive to your goals. I also wanted to mention this importance of the foundation of having carbs, fat, and protein in your diet because I see all too often that with insulin resistance, celebrities and Instagram models and stuff like that are promoting that you should just cut all carbs if you have insulin resistance, and this is just not true. Number one, when we think of carbs kind of encompass a lot of different things. So to say that we don't have any carbs at all is almost literally impossible because carbs are in things like fruits, veggies, starchy vegetables, and whole grains, and yes, of course, processed foods as well. So no, this is not me saying eat all the processed foods in the world. That's a good thing. I'm saying that carbs are more than just processed foods, so don't discount them and think that all carbs are created equal. Insulin resistance doesn't mean that you have to cut out all the foods you love and cut out all the carbs. It just means that you may have to be more choosy about the carbs that you pick and have certain foods less frequently and other foods that are more nutrient dense on the carb side more often. If I had to describe a balanced plate in a nutshell for this video, just super quick and dirty, is half your plate fruits and vegetables, a fourth of your plate protein, there goes my cat, a fourth of your plate protein, and a fourth of your plate a starchy carb, including things like brown rice, quinoa, corn, whole wheat bread, stuff like that. And for snacks, a good rule of thumb that I always like to promote is that when you have a carb, always pair it with a protein or a fat or both. Never have naked carbs. When we have, quote, naked carbs, they bring our blood sugar up temporarily, but then that little spike comes right back down and we tend to be hungry and tired afterwards. So when you have protein or fat paired with it, it slows down the absorption in your bloodstream so you have more energy and you feel fuller for longer. And remember, if you need some more meal and snack ideas, I do have 6 full weeks of meal and snack ideas in my program, the Mindful Muscles Academy. If you're interested in just the meal plan by itself, let me know in the comment section below. I might make that available pretty soon as well. This program is catered to fueling your body and fitness goals mindfully using mindful nutrition. Now, if you are interested specifically in blood sugar management, make sure to check the description below because I have a pre-sale list for my new blood sugar management program coming very, very soon. All right, so tip number 2 is nutrition timing. I think once you have that general foundation of including carbs, fat, and protein, and also eating enough in your diet, the next most important thing that you can do to manage insulin resistance is to time your meals and snacks properly. Eating regular and consistent meals every 3 to 4 hours is absolutely essential when it comes to managing your blood sugar. When your body has a steady flow of energy coming in throughout the day incrementally, it's more equipped to handle what's coming in. When you skip meals and snacks for an extended period of time, not only do we risk low blood sugar, which can be really dangerous, especially in those with diabetes, but we also tend to have this restrict and binge cycle, which leads us to eat a ton when we finally do get around to eating food, which can really spike our blood sugar high and again cause that endless cycle of having large quantities of food that are really hard for our body and our insulin to process all at once, and then going long periods of time without eating. This can really impact your basal metabolic rate long term, meaning that you're going to be burning less calories at rest and your body's baseline energy needs are going to go down to compensate because it thinks that you're not going to fuel it in the near future. Your body is very smart. Don't discount it. Tip number 3 is to choose complex carbohydrates over simple carbohydrates. Now, this is not to say you can't have simple carbs ever, but most of the time, I like to say aim for 50% of the time to 75% of the time have complex carbs because these are slower to absorb, which is good for insulin resistance and regulating blood sugar. Complex carbs come from things like whole grains. You can also get them from things like sweet potatoes and corn and other vegetables and fruits. And what makes these carbs different is that they also contain fiber. So fiber helps slow down the release of that glucose into our system. So comparing it to how protein and fat help slow down carbs in our system, so does fiber. When we have things that are high in simple carbs like white breads, white pasta, soda, candy, things like that, over time in excessive amounts, this can cause rapid spikes in our blood sugar, which can cause insulin resistance to occur or make insulin resistance worse. But again, I'm not the kind of dietitian that shames you or tells you not to have any kind of sugary foods in your diet. I think your body is well equipped to handle all types of foods. It's how frequently you have them and also what you pair them with. So I always like to say, if you are having something like a sweet treat, try to pair it with something else that has more complex carbohydrates, fiber, protein, or fat, because that's going to help it process in your system better. Simply restricting all foods that are sugary or less than perfect in your diet tends to just lead to a restrict and binge cycle. Before we get to tip number 4, which is very, very vital, so make sure you stick around until the very end of this video, I want to invite you to join my pre-sale list for my blood sugar balance course. This course is going to be all about how to manage things like your blood sugar, insulin resistance, and avoid highs and lows. And it'll help you get your energy back so you can manage insulin resistance, whether you have pre-diabetes, diabetes, PCOS, or you're just someone who wants to help manage your blood sugar better for better health. This course is for you. So make sure to sign up for the pre-sale in my description box below. This is going to give you 50% off or even more potentially when I first do the pre-launch for this course. So don't sleep on it. Sign up in the description below. Okay, so tip number 4 is to manage your portion sizes. Overeating and weight gain can be a major risk factor for insulin resistance. So managing your portions is key. To manage insulin resistance, you really want to eat until you're comfortably full, not until you feel like you're about to bust. And this is a great segue into signing up for my free mindful eating masterclass in the description below as well, because we talk all about how you can start to honor and recognize your hunger and fullness signals better, and how you can incorporate mindful eating into a healthy lifestyle so you can eat better and eat a healthy diet intentionally without guilt or judgment. If you want me to go in depth on what a portion size looks like for each food category, we could probably make a whole video on that, so let me know in the comments if you're interested in that. But one thing I want to mention specifically for insulin resistance in particular is the balance and portions of carbs throughout the day. Here's my cat's tail. If you've ever been diagnosed with diabetes and talked to a dietitian, you might have heard of a consistent carbohydrate diet. And while I don't necessarily think that you have to be super perfect about this to see and reap the benefits of it, I do think there is something to having a consistent level of carbs throughout the day versus kind of being haphazard with it. So some individuals with diabetes or insulin resistance find it really, really helpful to have a number that they shoot for, or kind of like a goal that they shoot for meals, and then the goal that they shoot for snacks. And typically what I see that number look like is 45 to 60 grams of carbs at breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and 15 to 30 or sometimes 45 if you're a more active person for snacks. And this is in grams of carbs, if I didn't make that totally clear. Counting grams of carbs may or may not be for you, so take this one with a grain of salt. But again, even if you're not being super strict like counting these carbs in MyFitnessPal, you can still just look at the label and be mindful and observational of what you're consuming. And that in and of itself is going to help you reach your goals and manage your blood sugar better without having to be obsessive or restrictive about it. That's not what we're about here. So now that I've given you my spiel, I want to hear from you. What is your experience with insulin resistance? Do you have any other underlying diagnoses or things that you want me to talk about or go into detail about in a future video? And what questions do you have? I want to hear from you. Make sure to say hi in the comment section below. Make sure if you learned something from this video that you hit the like button before you head off. And if you want to keep hanging out with me here on YouTube, click or tap the screen to head on over to the next video. Bye guys.